brought Minister Farouk down here, and you know how many people we had to battle, how many white folks we had to battle to make that happen. And one of the highlights was Reverend Joseph Laurie. We also had him speak there, and I gave him a ride to the airport. And my whole world, I was like, oh my God. He was like sitting right there next to me. And I mean, he's an icon in Georgia still, but at that age, I think, well, I was like 18 or whatever, I'm giving Reverend Joseph Laurie, who marched with Martin Luther King, a ride to the airport. This is it. I can just die right now. I just said, you know, my life ain't gonna get no more fabulous than this right here. So, yeah,
Well,
that was another.
I'll say something. I realize I stand out a little bit here.
No, you don't.
My name is Kassian Mabatu Babo. At that time that I knew Farouk, my name was Natasha, so I was a bit different. I think I was just trying to think back then. I think I was about 21, but in high school, I don't think I'd met him, but I was very involved in, especially divestment, Minneapolis and state pension funds from South Africa, and working with city council and stuff. So I had a wonderful, it's not about me, but it took a little bit to understand why Farouk meant so much to me. So I had a fantastic teacher at Minneapolis Central from Tanzania, who, in my view, kind of helped me through this kind of what I say is a mind flip of realizing that the world is not the way it is based on merit or good deeds or inherently the way it's supposed to be. And I just really became interested in African history particularly, and again, looking at why the way the world was in terms of colonialism, all those big kinds of issues. So when I was there at the U, and I was taking African history classes with Calypso Atkins, I don't think I ever got to take a class with you, but there was so much great stuff going on, and Chris Nissen was also a real hero to us in terms of making change, and I really looked up to August Nimms as being, you know, a university person who's a people person, who's a community person, and I just wanted to be involved in any way I could. And Farouk, I just remember he was so, he was never sort of like, what's this have to do with you? Or, you know, why are you here? And he was so welcoming, and I felt, I had a lot of issues with my own identity and where I fit in. And the fact that Farouk, I felt like he welcomed me, I felt like he gave me a seat at the table. He felt like, well, you know, you're a good person. And that just meant absolutely the world to me. It really meant the world to me. And I remember, I'm trying to remember, I'm pretty sure it was the night that Kwame Ture was here, and we were all super, super excited. And he was back to back. And there was, I can't remember what her name was, but it was a colleague of his, an African-American woman, and they both approached me and they said, I wish I could remember the words, but it was to the extent of the word that we use now. It was like, well, as a woke ally, he didn't say that again, but there's this young man, this young white high school student, and he's really struggling with stuff. I'm guessing he probably just read the autobiography of Malcolm X or something, and was really struggling. It's like, we think that you could maybe mentor him and help him along. And that just, it felt like such an honor for him to feel like, I just felt such respect for him, and I really appreciate it. And I keep dropping this, but I wanted to refer to this like this third, the second quote from John Henrik Clarke, the third one on there, you know, as history's not everything, but history's a starting point, and a clock that people use to tell their political and cultural time of day, and a place to find themselves on the map. And that's why I felt these shirts did. And I wore these shirts. I ended up teaching African American film, and my own area is South African historical fiction. But I always wore these shirts a lot of times to the first class. And I'd worn this shirt in Senegal, and South Africa, and Japan, and Nigeria, and all over the world. I wish I could find some pictures of those. I do have one with Sembène Ousmane, the great Senegalese filmmaker, who so fell in love with this shirt. He's like, I want the shirt, I want the shirt. Oh. So I was going to Dakar in 1995, and I managed to track down Farouk and get him a shirt, which I gave to Sembène, which was really exciting. But the point was, like, why wear this shirt? Like, people in Japan, like, what the heck does that mean? And you really get into that idea of, okay, what is, as a very Japan-centric culture, it's one of the most self-centered looking at very centric culture with not a whole lot, it's an extreme stereotype, doesn't apply to everybody, but it's very inward looking.
Yeah.
And it was really a way to start conversations and say, yeah, but you know, why is that? There's this whole world out there. And what happens when we look at things like, we talk a lot about Disney, the effect of Disney on young people's minds and what a princess looks like, and all those kinds of things. And for Asian people, that also had an effect. I would tell them that my daughter, whose father is Afro-Jamaican, used to put her blanket on her head and say, now I'm a princess, and how that broke my heart. You know, I couldn't stop that from happening. But looking at that whole notion of Afrocentricity as opposed to Eurocentricity, which is pervasive all around the world, and that it's something that relates to everybody, whether you're of African descent immediately or not. So he just was someone who I felt like he was shaking my hand. And he was so solid. I felt like he was a man with such integrity, and he really walked the walk. And you know, it was funny, I was talking with my sister last night saying, do you remember Farouk? And she said, yeah, I thought you had a huge crush on him. I was like, what? I certainly hope that you didn't think that, because that would have been terrible. That was totally not the point at all. I think if I was like, she said, you look starry-eyed around him. I was like, because I just wanted to be like him. I wanted to be like him. So I'm so glad he was with us.